The darkness of space stretched endlessly in all directions. Captain Minho stood on the bridge of the Luminar's Grace, watching the screens with tired eyes. He had been a salvage operator for 15 years now, and most days were boring. They would find old satellites, broken cargo ships, or useless debris. Nothing exciting, nothing valuable. Today felt different. "Captain, the scanner is picking up something big," said Borak, his first officer. Borak was a Tralaxian like Minho, with blue-gray skin and 4 arms that moved quickly across the control panels. "It's about 40,000 kilometers ahead. The signature is strange. Very strange." Minho leaned forward, his heart beat a little faster. Strange signatures sometimes meant valuable discoveries. Sometimes they meant danger. "What kind of strange?" "The metal doesn't match anything in our database. The energy readings are almost dead, but there's something still active inside. Captain, the computer is classifying it as a Class 15 artifact." The bridge went quiet. Everyone stopped what they were doing. Class 15 meant Deathworld, the most dangerous classification in all of known space. Planets where nothing intelligent should be able to survive. Worlds with crushing gravity, toxic air, or creatures so deadly that even landing on them was considered suicide. "Are you sure?" Minho asked. His voice was steady, but his hands gripped the armrests of his chair. The computer checked 3 times. "Whatever ship that is, it comes from a Class 15 Deathworld." Yuna appeared on the bridge carrying her datapad and looking excited. She was their xenoarchaeologist and expert in ancient civilizations. She was smaller than most Tralaxians, with lighter skin and bright eyes that always seemed curious. "Did I hear correctly? A Class 15 artifact? Captain, we have to investigate. Do you understand how rare this is? There are only 7 known Class 15 worlds in the entire galaxy, and none of them have ever produced spacefaring life. This could change everything we know about evolution and survival." "It could also kill us all," said Deho, the security officer. He was a Korvax, a species known for being careful and suspicious. His body was covered in thick armor-like skin, and he carried weapons at all times. "Council regulations are clear. Class 15 artifacts must be reported immediately. We are not authorized to board them." Minho thought about it. Deho was right about the regulations, but Yuna was right about the opportunity. A discovery like this could make them all rich. More than that, it could make them famous. The Galactic Council would pay millions for Class 15 technology. "We'll take a look," Minho decided. "Just the exterior. We'll scan it, document everything, and then decide if we board. If it looks too dangerous, we report it and leave." "Fair enough?" Deho didn't look happy, but he nodded. Yuna smiled wide. The Luminar's Grace moved closer to the derelict ship. As they approached, everyone on the bridge gasped. The vessel was massive, at least 3 times the size of their salvage ship. Its hull was dark and covered in scars. Deep gouges ran along the sides as if something with giant claws had tried to tear it apart. Burn marks showed where weapons had hit it, weapons powerful enough to melt through metal that should have vaporized under such heat. "That hull material," Borak whispered. "What is it made of?" "Our scanners can barely penetrate it." Yuna was already working, taking pictures and measurements. "Look at these symbols. These markings on the side. They're not in any language I recognize. Not Tralaxian, not Korvax, not even Old Velthrian. This ship is ancient. I mean truly ancient. Based on the radiation decay, I'd say it's been drifting here for at least 8,000 years. Maybe more. 8,000 years. Minho tried to imagine it. This ship was flying through space before his civilization even invented the wheel. Before most of the Council species had reached their own moons. "There's something else," Borak said. "I'm picking up faint life signs. Very faint, deep inside the ship." "That's impossible," Deho said. "Nothing could survive for 8,000 years. "Cryopods," Yuna said immediately. "It has to be. Some ancient species must have had cryogenic technology. If the pods are still powered, if they're still functioning." She looked at Minho with pleading eyes. "Captain, we have to go inside. We have to see." Minho made his decision. "Prep the boarding team. Deho, you'll lead security. Yuna, you're with us. Borak, you stay here and monitor everything. If something goes wrong, you leave immediately and report to the Council. Don't wait for us." Borak's face showed worry, but he agreed. 20 minutes later, Minho stood in the airlock with 5 others. They all wore full environmental suits. The suits would protect them from radiation, toxins, and extreme temperatures. Deho and 2 other security officers carried heavy weapons. Yuna carried only her scanners and cameras, but she looked more excited than scared. They cut through the hull using plasma torches. The metal resisted but eventually gave way. Air hissed out from inside the derelict ship. Even after 8,000 years, there was still atmosphere. The scanners showed it was breathable, but they kept their helmets on anyway. The interior was dark. Their suit lights cut through the blackness, showing corridors that were wider and taller than normal. Whoever built this ship was big, Deho observed. Look at the doorways. They're built for someone at least 2 meters tall. Most species in the galaxy were between 1 and 1.5 meters. 2 meters was giant. 2 meters was predator size. They moved through the corridors carefully. Everything was silent except for their breathing and footsteps. The walls showed more damage, long scratches that looked like claw marks and blast marks from weapons. They fought something here, Yuna said quietly. On their own ship. Look at the patterns. This was a battle. Minho saw what she meant. The damage was everywhere, scattered and chaotic. Whatever happened here, it had been violent. They followed the life signs deeper into the ship. The gravity was wrong, Minho realized. It was heavier than it should be. His suit compensated, but he could feel the difference. This ship had gravity generators set to 1.2 standard. That was crushing for most species. Who would choose to live in such heavy gravity? Finally, they reached a large chamber. Inside were dozens of cryopods, all dark and dead. But 3 pods in the center still glowed with faint blue light. The displays showed active readings. After 8,000 years, something inside these pods was still alive. Yuna approached the nearest pod carefully. She wiped away the frost on the viewing window. Inside was a face. A humanoid face with strange features. Smooth skin, 2 eyes, a flat nose, and a mouth. Hair on top of its head. It looked almost familiar, but also alien in ways Minho couldn't explain. It's beautiful, Yuna whispered. So symmetrical, so efficient looking. Deho checked his scanner. The life form inside is stable. Biologically, it appears to be in perfect condition. Whatever species this is, their cryogenic technology is far beyond ours. Can we revive it? Minho asked. The pod has controls. Old, but I think I can figure them out. Yuna's hands moved over the panel. Captain, this is the most important discovery in galactic history. We could be the first people in 8,000 years to meet this species. We could learn where they came from, what happened to them, why their ship is out here. Minho looked at the sleeping face in the pod. Something about it made him uneasy. The creature looked peaceful now, but the ship around them told a story of violence. The heavy gravity, the reinforced hull, the weapons damage. All of it suggested these beings were dangerous. But Yuna was right. This was too important to walk away from. Wake it up, he said. But slowly. And Deho, keep your weapons ready. Yuna began the revival sequence. The pod hummed to life and the blue light grew brighter. Inside, the creature's chest began to move. It was breathing. After 8,000 years of sleep, something from a Class-15 Deathworld was about to wake up. None of them were prepared for what would happen next. The cryopod opened with a hiss of cold air. Minho watched as the lid slowly lifted, revealing the creature inside. For a moment, nothing happened. The being lay perfectly still, frost covering its strange, smooth skin. Then its eyes opened. They were dark brown, almost black, and they moved quickly, scanning the room with obvious intelligence. The creature's chest rose and fell faster as it began breathing harder. Then, without warning, it exploded into motion. Jiho had no idea where he was. One moment he had been boarding the cryopod on the Indomitable, preparing for what should have been a 50-year sleep to reach the colony world. The next moment, aliens surrounded him. Small aliens with blue skin and too many arms. His training took over immediately. He grabbed the nearest alien before anyone could react. His hand wrapped around its thin neck and he rolled out of the pod, using the alien as a shield. Everything felt wrong. His body was stiff, his muscles weak from long sleep, but adrenaline pushed him forward. "Don't move," he shouted in Standard Earth, knowing they wouldn't understand. 2 more aliens wore armor and carried weapons. He recognized weapons when he saw them, even alien ones. He threw the alien he was holding at them and ran. The corridor was too wide, too tall, just like the Indomitable. Good. He knew this ship. But why were aliens on his ship? Where was the crew? Where was Hieri and the military team? Behind him, he heard shouting in languages he didn't know. Energy weapons fired, but their aim was terrible. The blast hit the walls far behind him. These aliens were slow. Everything seemed slow. Was something wrong with his augments? No, they felt normal. The aliens were just weak. He found a junction he remembered and turned left, heading for the armory. If this was a boarding action, he needed weapons. But when he reached the armory, the room was empty. All the weapons were gone. The entire room was covered in dust. How long had he been asleep? A sound behind him made him turn. One of the armored aliens stood in the doorway, weapon raised. It said something in its strange language, clearly a command to surrender. Jiho raised his hand slowly, then grabbed a piece of broken metal from the floor and threw it faster than the alien could track. The metal hit the alien's weapon, knocking it from its grip. Jiho rushed forward, but something invisible grabbed him. He couldn't move. His muscles strained against nothing, against some kind of force field that held him in place. More aliens arrived, including the small one he had grabbed earlier, rubbing its neck and looking at him with wide eyes. The aliens spoke among themselves. They seemed scared but also curious. One of them, smaller than the others with lighter blue skin, held up a device and pointed it at him. The device made sounds, then spoke in broken, horrible Earth standard. "No, hurt, help." Jiho's mind raced. A translation device. These aliens had translation technology. He forced himself to calm down, to think clearly. Where am I? Where is my crew? How long have I been in the pod? The device made more sounds, then translated his words to the aliens. They looked at each other with what might have been surprise. The small alien spoke again, and the device translated. "You ship old, very old. We find floating. 8,000 cycles. 8,000 cycles." Jiho felt cold. 8,000 years? That's impossible. The pod was only rated for 200 years maximum. The translation device worked both ways. The aliens heard his words in their language and looked shocked. The small one said something quickly, and others responded. Finally, the device spoke again. "Your name?" "Jiho. Lieutenant Jiho Park of the Earth Colonial Fleet. And you just made a big mistake attacking me." The device struggled with some words, but the meaning got through. The aliens backed away slightly. The small one spoke again. "No attack. You attack us. We wake you, help you. My name, Yuna. We are Trilaxian. This is Captain Minho. We are salvage ship. We find your ship dead floating." Dead. The word hit Jiho hard. The Indomitable was dead. The crew was dead. He had been floating in space for 8,000 years. It was impossible to process. "There are others," he said. "Other pods?" 2 more showed active. My friends." Yuna spoke to the others, and they seemed to discuss it. Finally, she nodded. "We wake them. But you must not attack, please. We are not enemies." Jiho wanted to argue, but what choice did he have? He was alone on a dead ship with aliens who had technology he didn't understand. "Release me. I won't attack if you don't." They discussed it among themselves, then the invisible force holding him disappeared. Jiho moved his arms carefully, testing his freedom. The aliens watched him like he was a dangerous animal. Maybe he was, from their perspective. They returned to the cryopod chamber together. Jiho saw his own pod standing open and empty. Seeing it from the outside made everything feel more real. He had been sleeping in there for 8 millennia while the universe moved on without him. Yuna and another alien worked on the second pod. This one contained Hieri. Jiho's heart clenched. Hieri had been his squad leader, his friend. She had a wife and 2 children back on Earth. What would she think when she learned how much time had passed? The pod opened. Hieri woke exactly as Jiho had, with instant violence. But Hieri was special forces, trained beyond what Jiho had been. She broke through the force field in seconds, something that should have been impossible. It took 4 aliens using combined force fields to finally hold her down, and even then she nearly escaped twice. "Hieri, stand down." "They're not enemies," Jiho shouted. Hieri's eyes found him and focused. She stopped struggling immediately, though her body stayed tense and ready. "Jiho, report. We're prisoners on our own ship. These aliens found us. We've been in cryo for 8,000 years. Earth is gone or lost or something. I don't know the full situation yet." Hieri processed this information in seconds. 8,000 years. The war? I don't know. They haven't told me anything about Earth or the colonies. The translation device had been working the whole time. The aliens heard everything. Captain Minho spoke through the device. "We know nothing of Earth, no records in our database. You say Earth is your home world? Where is it located?" Hieri gave Jiho a look and he nodded. She recited the coordinates from memory. The aliens checked their database, then went very quiet. Finally, Yuna spoke and the device translated with what sounded like fear. "Those coordinates. That is Sector 45 Delta, Restricted Zone, Class-15 Deathworld designation. Nothing can live there. The planet has extreme gravity, dangerous creatures, toxic biology, constant disasters. It is marked as impossible for intelligent life. Jiho almost laughed. Impossible? Earth isn't that bad. Sure, the gravity is a bit heavy, and yes, there are some dangerous animals and the weather can be rough. But humans adapted. We evolved there. It's our home. All the aliens stared at him. One of them said something and the device didn't translate it, but Jiho could guess the meaning from their faces. They were terrified. They woke the third pod. Inside was Taejun, a scientist from the colony mission. He woke more calmly than Jiho or Hyeri, probably because he heard their voices before he fully regained consciousness. Taejun had always been the smart one, the one who understood technology and systems better than anyone else. After the translation device explained the situation again, Taejun asked the important question. You said you have no records of Earth or humans in your database. What about the other colonies? We sent out 20 colony ships. The Indomitable was just one of them. What happened to the others? The aliens checked their database again. Captain Minho spoke through the device, sounding confused and worried. Nothing. No records of any human colonies. No records of any ships matching your description. In all our galactic databases, spanning 12,000 years of recorded history, there is no mention of humanity anywhere. Hyeri, Jiho, and Taejun looked at each other. 20 colony ships, hundreds of smaller exploration vessels, Earth itself with its 8 billion people. All of it gone from history, disappeared without a trace. That's not possible, Taejun said slowly. You don't just lose an entire spacefaring species. Someone had to record something unless what? Yuna asked. Taejun's face was grim. Unless someone erased us on purpose. The chamber went silent. The aliens looked uncomfortable. Captain Minho spoke again. We are taking you to the nearest Galactic Council station. They will want to meet you. This is a first contact situation, and it must be handled properly. You will be treated well. We promise no harm. Jiho looked at Hyeri and Taejun. They were 3 humans, alone in a galaxy that had apparently forgotten their entire species ever existed. What choice did they have but to go along and learn what had really happened? Fine, Hyeri said. We'll come peacefully. But Captain Minho, understand this. We're being cooperative now because we're confused and outnumbered. That doesn't mean we're weak. If we find out you or your council had anything to do with what happened to our people, you'll discover why Earth is classified as a Class-15 Deathworld. The translation device worked perfectly. Every alien in the room understood the threat. From the way they looked at the 3 humans, they believed it completely. The Luminar's Grace moved through space at steady speed, heading toward the nearest Galactic Council station. The journey would take 5 days. Captain Minho had given the 3 humans a cargo bay to stay in, modified with furniture and supplies. He had also posted guards outside, though everyone knew the guards were more for show than actual security. Jiho spent most of his time exercising. The ship's gravity was set to standard, which felt light to him, like walking on a moon. He could jump 3 times higher than normal. His muscles needed the workout after 8,000 years of sleep. The aliens watched him through cameras, probably amazed at what he could do in their normal gravity. Hyeri was quieter. She sat alone often, thinking about her family. Her wife and children would have died 8,000 years ago. Everyone she knew was dust. Jiho understood her pain. His own family was gone too. His parents, his brother, his niece who had just been born before he left on the colony mission. All gone. Taejun was different. He spent his time talking with Yuna through the translation device, which was getting better at understanding human speech. Yuna asked endless questions about Earth, about human biology, about their technology. She seemed fascinated rather than afraid. Your bone density is incredible, Yuna said during one conversation, and your muscle fiber composition. You're built like predators, apex predators. How did your species ever develop cooperation in society? Taejun smiled. Humans are complicated. Yes, we're dangerous, but we're also social. We form bonds, families, communities. We're at our best when we work together. But you fight each other too. You mentioned a war before the colony missions. Taejun's smile faded. Yes, humans have always fought humans. Over resources, ideologies, territory. We almost destroyed ourselves several times. That's why we finally united and looked to the stars. We realized we needed a bigger purpose. On the third day of the journey, everything changed. Alarms blared throughout the ship. Jiho was on his feet immediately with Hyeri right behind him. Through the cargo bay door, they heard shouting and the sound of weapons fire. "We're under attack," Hyeri said. "Pirates, probably. Standard salvage ship threat." The door opened and Deho rushed in with 2 guards. "Stay here." "Lock the door. Don't come out." "What's happening?" Jiho demanded. "Pirates. Vralkian raiders. They're boarding us." Deho turned to leave, but Hyeri grabbed his arm. Even through his armor, Deho gasped at the strength of her grip. "How many?" 20, maybe 30. "They have heavy weapons. We can't fight them. Captain Minho is trying to negotiate." Hyeri released him and looked at Jiho and Taijun. "We can help." "No," Deho said firmly. "You stay here. This is not your concern. You're outgunned and you know it," Hyeri said. "Your security team is what, 5 people? Maybe 6? Against 30 trained pirates? You'll lose. That is not your problem. Stay here." Deho left, locking the door behind him. Through the walls they heard more weapons fire, closer now, then screaming. The Vralkeen were cutting through the ship's defenders easily. "We can't just stay here," Jiho said. Taijun was already at the control panel next to the door. His hands moved quickly, exploring the alien technology. "Give me 30 seconds." Hyeri pulled a metal bar from one of the beds. It would serve as a weapon. Jiho found a piece of pipe. They weren't much, but they were better than nothing. His military augments were active now, pumping combat enhancers through his system. His vision became sharper, his reflexes faster, his strength increased. The door opened. Taijun grinned. "These systems are actually pretty simple once you understand the logic." They moved into the corridor. The ship's gravity felt even lighter now with combat augments active. Jiho felt like he could fly. They followed the sounds of fighting toward the bridge. A Vralkeen pirate appeared around a corner. It was a large creature, bigger than the Trilaxians, with thick-scaled skin and multiple eyes. It carried a weapon that looked like it could blast through walls. When it saw the 3 humans, it raised the weapon. Hyeri moved faster than the pirate could track. She crossed 10 meters in under a second, her metal bar swinging. The bar connected with the pirate's weapon arm with a sickening crunch. The creature howled in pain. Before it could recover, Jiho was there, slamming his pipe into its head. The pirate dropped. 2 more pirates appeared. They fired their weapons, but the humans had already moved. Energy blasts hit the walls where they had been standing. Hyeri and Jiho flanked them while Taijun grabbed the fallen pirate's weapon and figured out how to fire it in seconds. His blast caught one pirate in the chest. Hyeri's bar took down the other. They reached the bridge area. Through the windows, they could see Captain Minho and his crew on their knees, hands behind their heads. 6 Vralkeen pirates surrounded them, weapons ready. The pirate leader was speaking, probably demanding valuables or ransom codes. "The gravity controls," Taijun said. "Where are they?" Jiho pointed to a panel near the bridge entrance. Taijun moved to it while Hyeri and Jiho positioned themselves. "On my mark," Hyeri said. 3, 2, 1 mark. Taijun increased the gravity to 1.4 standard, the level humans trained at in high-gravity combat drills. For the Vralkeen, it was crushing. They fell to their knees immediately, struggling under the increased weight. Even Captain Minho and his crew collapsed, unable to stand. But the 3 humans moved through the heavy gravity like it was nothing. They had trained for worse. Hyeri burst through the door, her bar swinging. She took down 2 pirates before they could aim their weapons. Jiho grabbed another, lifting the creature easily despite its size and throwing it into a 4th pirate. Both went down hard. The last 2 pirates tried to fight, but they were slow, pinned by gravity that felt normal to the humans. Taijun fired the pirate weapon with careful precision, disabling them without killing. In less than 30 seconds, the bridge was secure. Hyeri helped Captain Minho to his feet as Taijun lowered the gravity back to standard. The Trilaxians gasped for breath, staring at the humans with wide eyes. "There are more pirates on the ship," Hyeri said. "And they have a boarding vessel attached to your hull. We need to deal with both." Captain Minho just nodded, too shocked to speak. What followed was systematic. The 3 humans moved through the Luminar's grace like ghosts. They disabled 14 more pirates, using captured weapons and brutal efficiency. The Vralkeen were trained fighters, but they couldn't match human speed and strength. They couldn't match 8,000 years of military evolution from a Deathworld species. The pirate boarding vessel was still attached, connected by an airlock. Hieri studied it for a moment, then looked at the others. I'm going over there. That's insane, Deho said. He had followed them through the ship, watching in amazement as the humans fought. You'll need a full environmental suit. The connection is unstable, and there could be dozens more pirates on that ship. Hieri smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. I don't need a full suit. Just a breather and magnetic boots. Before anyone could stop her, she grabbed a breather mask from a locker and put it on. She found magnetic boots and sealed them to her feet. Then she opened the airlock. Space was cold and airless, but the breather provided oxygen. Hieri's augments adjusted her body temperature and sealed her capillaries to prevent decompression damage. She walked across the hull of the Luminar's Grace, jumped the gap to the pirate vessel, and used the magnetic boots to land on its hull. Inside the Luminar's Grace, everyone watched through cameras. Una was trembling. That's impossible. No species can survive in space with just a breather. The pressure, the temperature, the radiation. Humans can, Tejan said quietly, for about 10 minutes with standard military augments. Hieri has special forces augments. She can last 20 minutes. Hieri found the pirate ship's airlock and forced it open with strength that bent the metal. She entered the vessel, sealed the door behind her, and began hunting. The remaining pirates didn't stand a chance. She moved through their ship like death itself, disabling them one by one. 15 minutes later, she returned, dragging the pirate captain with her. She threw him onto the bridge of the Luminar's Grace, still alive but thoroughly beaten. Your ship is secure, she told Captain Minho. All pirates are captured or unconscious. No one died. You're welcome. The bridge was silent. Every alien stared at her, at all three humans. They had just watched individuals from a lost species do what would require an entire military strike team from any known civilization. Finally, Captain Minho spoke. What are you? Jiho answered. We're human. We're from Earth. And now you understand why it's called a Class-15 Deathworld, because everything that lives there has to be able to survive in hell. That makes us very, very good at surviving everywhere else. Una spoke quietly, almost to herself. If 3 humans can do this, what could an entire civilization of humans do? Tejan met her eyes. That's a very good question. And I think we need to find out where our civilization went, because if we're still out there somewhere, someone deliberately hid us from the galaxy. Someone was afraid of us, afraid enough to erase us from history. The weight of those words settled over everyone. The Luminar's Grace continued toward the council station, but now everyone aboard understood that this first contact situation was much more dangerous than they had realized. The Galactic Council Station appeared in the view screen like a massive flower made of metal and light. It was enormous, easily 50 times larger than the Luminar's Grace. Thousands of ships moved around it, coming and going from dozens of species and civilizations. This was the heart of galactic government, where laws were made and disputes settled. Jiho watched it grow closer and felt uneasy. Something about this felt wrong. Captain Minho had been quiet since the pirate attack, speaking to them less and spending more time in private communications with the council. Una still visited them, but even she seemed nervous now. They're afraid of us, Hieri said, watching the station approach. Look how they're treating us. Like weapons instead of people. She was right. After the fight, the aliens had moved them to a more secure location with reinforced walls and multiple guard posts. They called it better accommodations, but it was clearly a cell. A nice cell, but still a cage. Tejan had spent the last 2 days working on something in private. Now he looked up from the datapad he had convinced Una to give him. I've been accessing their database, learning their language properly, not just through the translation device. Their security is terrible. I've seen records going back 12,000 years. And? Jiho asked. And there's something strange. About 8,000 years ago, there's a gap. Several years where records are classified at the highest level, completely locked down. I can't access them directly, but I can see they exist. Hieri leaned forward. What kind of records? Military records. Fleet movements. Weapons deployments. Something big happened 8,000 years ago. Right around the time our ship went into cryo, the Council mobilized their entire military. Then afterwards, all these new regulations appeared about exploration and restricted zones, including the classification of Earth as a Class-15 Deathworld. The 3 humans looked at each other. The pieces were starting to form a picture, and it was ugly. We need to get into those files, Hieri said. Tejan smiled. Already working on it. but I'll need access to a proper terminal, something with direct connection to the Council's main database. They won't give us that here. The Luminar's Grace docked at the station. Captain Minho came to escort them personally, along with 10 armed guards. The Council representatives are waiting to meet you. Please understand, this is for your safety as much as ours. Your abilities have made some people nervous. Nervous enough to point weapons at us? Chiho gestured at the guards. Protocol, Minho said, but he didn't meet their eyes. They were taken through the station's corridors. Other aliens stopped to stare at them. Word had spread about the humans who fought off pirates single-handedly. Some aliens looked curious, others looked afraid. A few looked hostile. The council chamber was vast, with representatives from dozens of species sitting in a circular arrangement. At the center was a platform where the humans were directed to stand. Above them, display screens showed their faces and information from the Luminar's Grace database. An elderly Velthrian spoke first. The Velthrians were one of the oldest spacefaring species, with long lives and longer memories. This one looked ancient even by their standards. I am Council Elder Vethrin. We welcome you to this first contact. You claim to be from a species called humanity, from the planet Earth, is this correct? Yes, Yeri said. She had been chosen to speak for them because of her military rank. We are human. We were part of a colony mission 8,000 years ago. Our ship was attacked and damaged. We went into emergency cryosleep. Now we wake to find our entire civilization missing from your records. Vethrin exchanged looks with other council members. We have examined the data from your ship. We have analyzed your biology. The results are disturbing. Your physical capabilities far exceed any known species. Your homeworld's environmental conditions would kill most of us within hours. How did your species evolve? The same way any species evolves, Tajin said. We adapted to our environment. Earth is challenging, but it's home. We learned to survive there, then to thrive. Your world has gravity 1.2 times standard, another council member said. This one was a Korvax like Diho. It has predators that can kill adult members of most species. It has diseases and toxins we have no immunity to. Calling it challenging is an understatement. It should be called impossible. And yet we exist, Jiho said. Are we on trial here? Because we didn't choose where we evolved. We just lived. The council members talked among themselves. Finally, Vethrin spoke again. You will undergo medical examination and cultural evaluation. We need to understand your species before we can determine how to proceed. Quarters will be provided for you here on the station. You will not be allowed to leave. So we're prisoners, Yeri said flatly. You are guests under observation. For everyone's safety. Guards escorted them to their new quarters. The rooms were larger than on the ship, but the door was locked from outside and cameras watched everything. They were definitely prisoners. We need to get to a terminal, Taejun said once they were alone. Those locked records are the key to everything. Over the next 3 days, they were subjected to countless tests. Medical scanners analyzed every part of their biology. Psychologists asked them thousands of questions. Scientists studied their muscle tissue, bone density, and neural structure. The aliens were fascinated and terrified in equal measure. Yuna visited them when she could. She had been assigned as their liaison, probably because she was the only alien they had developed any trust with. On the 4th day, she arrived looking troubled. I've been researching, she said quietly, looking into old records following up on what Taijin mentioned about the gap in history. I found something. References to something called the pruning. It happened 8,000 years ago. All 3 humans tensed. What's the pruning? Jiho asked. I don't know. The records are classified, but I found the name mentioned in some old cultural texts, historical poems, things that aren't under official security. Whatever it was significant, terrible. Some of the poems call it the Council's greatest shame. Hieri stood up. We need to get into those files now. Can you get us to a terminal? Yuna hesitated. If I'm caught helping you access classified information, I'll be arrested. Maybe worse. Then don't get caught, Taejin said. Yuna, if the pruning is what we think it is, if it's connected to what happened to humanity, then the galaxy deserves to know the truth. Not just us, everyone. Yuna made her decision. There's a records office 3 levels down. It has direct access to the central database. I can get you there, but you'll need to move fast. That night, Yuna disabled the cameras in their quarters using her security credentials. She led them through service corridors that most people didn't know existed. They avoided main areas where guards patrolled. The records office was empty at night. Taejun sat down at the terminal and his hands began flying across the controls. Their security is focused on external threats, not internal. They never expected anyone on the station to try this. Code scrolled across the screen faster than the others could follow. Taejun's augments included enhanced neural processing for technical work. He saw patterns in the system that would take normal people hours to find. "I'm in," he said after 5 minutes, accessing the classified records from 8,000 years ago. "Here it is, the pruning. Military operation authorized by full council vote." "Oh no, no. What is it?" Hyeri demanded. Taejun's face was pale as he read. "Humanity didn't disappear. We were attacked. Deliberately. The council found out about us, about our expansion into space. They saw our capabilities, our growth rate, our adaptability, and they decided we were too dangerous to exist." He pulled up fleet movement records. Battle reports. Casualty estimates. The images on the screen showed human colony worlds burning, ships destroyed, entire populations wiped out. They called it a preemptive defense action. Taejun continued, his voice shaking with anger. They united every major species in the galaxy, built a fleet larger than anything before or since, and they hunted down every human settlement they could find. Every colony, every ship. They bombed Earth from orbit for 6 months, trying to make sure humanity could never recover. Hyeri's hands clenched into fists. My family, my wife and children, they were in the Kepler colony. Were they? Taejun checked the records. Kepler was one of the first targets. Total destruction. No survivors. I'm sorry, Hyeri. Jiho felt rage building inside him. His family had been on Earth. His brother had been planning to join the military. His niece had just been born. How many? How many humans died? Estimated casualties, 7 billion. Nearly the entire species. The number was incomprehensible. 7 billion people. Everyone they knew. Everyone they loved. Murdered by a council that decided humans were too dangerous to live. Why didn't they finish the job? Hyeri asked, her voice cold. Why is Earth still classified as a restricted zone instead of destroyed? Taejun scrolled further. They tried. But after 6 months of bombardment, they lost too many ships. Earth's defense platforms kept fighting even after the surface colonies were gone. The defenders went underground into the oceans anywhere they could survive. The council decided it was too expensive to completely destroy the planet. The fight was over before it really began. Hyeri took down 6 guards in seconds. Jiho disabled the weapon systems with precise strikes. Taejun hacked the room's controls and sealed the doors. But more guards kept coming, and eventually even the 3 enhanced humans were overwhelmed by sheer numbers. They woke in a cell. A real cell this time, with force fields and restraints designed to hold dangerous prisoners. Yuna was in the cell next to them, arrested for helping them. She looked small and frightened, but when she saw them awake, she tried to smile. I don't regret it, she said through the force field. The galaxy needed to know the truth. They're going to kill us, Hyeri said. She wasn't asking. She was stating fact. They can't let us go free now that we know what they did. We're witnesses to their genocide. Taejun held up the small data drive he had somehow kept hidden. I managed to transmit the files before they caught us. Sent them to multiple sources across the galactic network. By now, millions of people have seen the truth about the pruning. Through the walls, they could hear chaos, shouting, arguments, the sounds of protest forming. The revelation was spreading through the station like fire. Not everyone supported what the council had done 8,000 years ago. Elder Vethrin came to their cell that night. He looked older than before, tired and sad. You have caused quite a disturbance. Half the station is demanding your execution. The other half is demanding your release. Some species are threatening to leave the council entirely over what happened to humanity. Good, Jiho said. Let them fight. Let everyone know what you did. What we did was wrong, Vethrin said quietly. I voted against the pruning. I argued that humanity should be given a chance. But I was outvoted. The fear was too strong. And after it was done, we all agreed to bury the truth. To classify it and never speak of it again. We thought that was the end of humanity. You failed, Hyeri said. Some of us survived. Perhaps more than you know, Vethrin said. He looked around to make sure no one was listening, then spoke even quieter. I have received a message. From Earth, from humanity itself. They want to negotiate your release. The 3 humans stared at him. That's impossible, Taejun said. Earth was bombed for 6 months. Even if some humans survived, they would have been thrown back to primitive technology. They couldn't have rebuilt enough to send messages across the galaxy. And yet they did, Vethrin said. The message was highly encrypted and sent through channels we didn't even know existed. They knew about you within hours of your arrival at this station. They have been watching us for a very long time. He pulled up a hologram showing a message in perfect standard galactic language. The signature at the bottom read, Speaker Soman, representative of the Hidden Conclave of Earth. They call themselves the Hidden Conclave, Vethrin continued. They say they have been waiting for this moment, waiting for the galaxy to discover that humanity still exists. They are coming here to take you home, and Elder Human, I am very afraid of what happens next. 3 days later, everything changed. Ships appeared at the edge of the system, not through normal jump points, but through some other method of travel that didn't register on sensors until they were already present. One moment the space was empty. The next moment, dozens of vessels hung in the darkness. They were human ships. The designs were advanced, sleek, built with technology that made council vessels look primitive by comparison. Each ship bore names from the old colonies. The new Kepler. The second Mars, the Earth remembered. Names that honored what was lost but promised it was not forgotten. The council went into immediate emergency session. Their fleet moved to intercept, but stopped when scans showed the human ships carried weapons far beyond anything in the galactic arsenal. This was not going to be a fight the council could win. A shuttle launched from the largest human ship and approached the station. The council allowed it to dock, though hundreds of weapons tracked its every movement. From the shuttle emerged a woman who introduced herself as Speaker Soman. She was tall, like all humans seemed to be from the council's perspective, with dark hair and eyes that held the weight of thousands of years. She wore simple clothing but carried herself with absolute authority. She walked into the council chamber without fear, surrounded by guards who looked tiny next to her. I speak for Earth, Soman said in perfect galactic standard. I speak for the Hidden Conclave. And I speak for the billions of humans you tried to murder 8,000 years ago. The council chamber was silent. Every species representative watched her with a mixture of fear and fascination. You bombed our world, Soman continued. You destroyed our colonies. You killed 7 billion of our people, including children, elders, innocents who had never harmed anyone. You did this because you were afraid of what we might become. Elder Vethrin stood. You survived. How? We went underground. Into the oceans. Into space habitats hidden in asteroid fields. We scattered across Earth and made ourselves invisible to your sensors. And while you thought you had destroyed us, we rebuilt. In secret, in silence. We watched as you classified our world as a death world and forbade anyone from checking on us. That quarantine became our greatest advantage. She pulled up a hologram showing Earth, but not the bombed, broken Earth from the old records. This Earth was green and blue, covered in cities that stretched across continents. Space elevators reached into orbit. Massive stations orbited the planet, bristling with weapons. We had something you didn't count on, Soman said. We had anger. We had purpose. We remembered every person you killed, every child who died afraid, every hope you tried to destroy. And we used that memory to push ourselves harder than any species in galactic history. More holograms appeared, showing human colonies on other worlds. Dozens of worlds, all hidden, all thriving. Some had been there since before the pruning, survivors who escaped the attack. Others were new, built in secret over thousands of years. While you explored the galaxy, we were already there, Soman said. We learned to change our appearance, to pass as other species. We infiltrated your governments, your militaries, your science institutions. We have been among you for 8,000 years, and you never knew. A council member from a species called the Drexians stood up, clearly shocked. Impossible. We would have detected genetic differences. Our security screenings were designed by humans, Soman said with a slight smile. We made sure your security would never detect us. We made sure your technology developed in ways that suited us. We slowed your weapons research. We accelerated your medical research because we're not monsters like you. We guided your civilization while preparing for the day we would reveal ourselves. She looked around the chamber at every representative, and now that day has come. Because you have captured 3 of our people. 3 survivors from the time before, who deserve to know they're not alone. We're here to bring them home. And what else? Vethrin asked. What will humanity do now? Will you take revenge? Will you destroy us as we tried to destroy you? The chamber held its breath. The human fleet outside waited with weapons charged. One word from Salmon and the galaxy would burn. That is the question, Somin said. For 8,000 years we have debated this among ourselves. Some wanted revenge. Some wanted justice. Some wanted to simply reveal ourselves and demand our place in the galaxy, but we could never agree. She gestured and the cell holding Hayeri, Jiho, and Taejun opened. They walked into the chamber, free, and stood beside Somin. Yuna was released too, walking carefully between armed guards. These 3 survivors changed everything, Somin said. They proved that the galaxy is not united in their hatred of us. This one, Yuna of the Tralaxians, risked her life to help them find the truth. Captain Minho, despite his orders, treated them with respect. Others on the station have protested their imprisonment. Not everyone supported the pruning. Not everyone wants us dead. Yeri stepped forward. I learned my family died 8,000 years ago in your attack. My wife, my children, everyone I loved. You took everything from me. I should hate all of you. The council members shifted uncomfortably. But Somin showed me something, Yeri continued. She showed me that my great-great-great-grandchildren survived. My family line continued because some humans from our colony ship escaped in smaller vessels before the attack. They reached Earth, they helped rebuild. My descendant is serving on one of those ships outside right now. Tears ran down her face. You took my family from me, but humanity gave them back, across 8,000 years. That's the difference between us. You destroy out of fear. We preserve out of hope. Gio spoke next. My brother joined Earth's defense forces. He died fighting your ships in orbit, but before he died, he sent my niece into the underground shelters. She survived. She had children who had children who had children. My family continued, and they remembered me. There's a memorial with my name on it on Earth marking me as one of the fallen from the colony missions. Taejun was last. I was a scientist. I wanted to study new worlds and help humanity grow. You took that dream from me. But Speaker Somin tells me that human scientists have learned incredible things in 8,000 years. Medicine that can cure diseases you still struggle with.